I'm Owen Simpson. The Wildcats are back home for the final two conference games with playoff implications on the line.
I'm Grant Boone. We'll preview that game against Sam Houston State and have all the highlights from another thrilling overtime victory. It's the Adam Dorrel Show right now. Welcome to Week 10 of the Adam Dorrel Show, presented by Lawrence Hall from the ACU TV studios on the campus of Abilene Christian University. I'm Grant Boone alongside Owen Simpson and the head football coach at ACU, Adam Dorrel. A three-game winning streak has pushed ACU above 500 and into playoff contention. So, Coach, 2 games left, both at home, both against really good opponents starting today against Sam Houston State. Look back over these last 3 wins. Has there been one recurring theme, or has it been a little bit of everything?
Yeah, I think a little bit of everything. I think the one reoccurring theme would be just energy. I think our guys have played with a lot of passion, a lot of energy. Obviously, turnover margin's been phenomenal for us, and I think the execution's been good. Hadn't been panic in the overtimes, and so just seen some really good growth from our guys, and really proud of them.
And it was a bye week for you last week, but you're still busy at work. What were some things that you and your coaching staff focused on in that time?
Yeah, it was when you looked back at the beginning of the season, man, you're like, this is a terrible time for a bye so late. Yeah. And it just happens to work out. Great timing coming off some overtime wins, being on the road in Thibodeau, long trip. And so we really focused on sitting down as a coaching staff and just said, hey, man, our older guys, starters are beat up right now, physically, mentally. So we gave them a lot of time off, but we used it for the younger guys, put them in a lot of game situations, simulated games, overtimes, red zone, stuff like that, to use to get our 2 deep up to speed a little bit. Got some special teams work in. So I was really proud of our guys, man. We had 2 really good days last week. Took some time off, came back, practiced phenomenal on Sunday night under the lights, and you could just tell our energy was up, and our guys are excited to play today.
Fun to go back to work off a 3-game win streak.
It is.
Yeah,
absolutely.
A little extra energy, a little extra hop in the step. Well, we will preview today's game against Sam Houston State a bit later, but when we return, highlights and Coach Dorrel's analysis from that big win at Nichols 2 Saturdays ago. This is the Adam Dorrel Show, presented by Lawrence Hall. Welcome back to the Adam Dorrel Show, presented by Lawrence Hall. The ACU football team had last Saturday off, but 2 weeks ago, the Wildcats traveled down to Thibodaux, Louisiana to take on the defending conference champion Nichols Colonels, who at the time were tied for first place. They hadn't lost a regular season home game since 2016, but a huge day from quarterback Samaje Davis and an opportunistic defense led ACU to a 37-31 overtime victory, the 2nd straight win in OT, and a 3rd straight victory overall. Coach, this win was special for a million different reasons. One of them to me is the fact that you fell behind early, 14-3, to a team that thrives on getting early leads and then just choking the life out of you. How do you think your team was able to handle that early adversity? Why do you think that was?
Yeah, I think we were locked in, ready to play. I think we did fall behind early. Again, there was no panic. We stayed with the game plan, and then we had some really big plays that led us down to score. Obviously, the score right before halftime with 1 second left, I thought, to take the lead was huge. And so just been a little bit of a theme with us, man. I think our guys don't panic, and they hang in there and continue to execute what we're trying to do.
And after that second touchdown by Nichols, the following drive, Luke Anthony runs a career-long 28-yard rush, and then it's capped off by Samaje Davis taking it in for the score. How were you able to utilize both these quarterbacks throughout this game?
Yeah, it's been a good recipe for us here the last few weeks. I think it starts with both of those guys being extremely unselfish and wanting to do what's best for the team. As a quarterback, at some of my previous schools, I've always been able to do kind of a 2-quarterback deal. They're so different. We go from running option, truly, triple option football with Samaje Davis to being a pro style with Luke. And so it's just difficult for defenses to defend and key in on a little bit. And just excited, man, but we executed in both of those game plans. And I think Nichols would tell you they were struggling to know what was coming next.
Well, and certainly when Luke, who's normally a thrower, runs it, or Samaje, who typically runs it, throws it, it even throws the defense off even more. So you're down 14-10. and you get a fumble recovery. Timisan Kuyetsimi forces it. Hunter Keir falls on it. You're at the 39-yard line, 5:17 to go in the second quarter, down by 4. And you go for it a couple of times. You get it. And then 3 seconds to go in the half. You got a decision to make. You're on the 1-yard line. It's a chip shot field goal to go down by 1 at halftime. You opt to go for the touchdown. You told me before the game that you wanted your team to be prepared. I think the term you used was throw the kitchen sink at the defending conference champs. Was that a way that you as a coach threw the kitchen sink?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I meant that, what I said. I had our guys, our coaching staff had our team in a mindset. We were going down there, we were going to play to win, and we were going to be guns up is what we call it, and we went for it 4th down. 4 times on 4th down that day. I think maybe 5, and I think we got 4 of the 5 of them. The fullback dives were obviously huge, but to me, if you're going to win games like that against a team that hadn't lost since 2016, you have to have that mindset. And it's one thing to have that mindset, but you got to follow through with it. And so there was never a doubt in any of those decisions what we were going to do with that. So I was excited for our guys because they executed.
And Tracy James got into the end zone with a touchdown.
Huge.
In first drive of the second half, you kept rolling on offense. 12 plays, 73 yards, capped off with a touchdown pass to Josh Fink. Looking at this, also including that last drive in the first half, you held the ball for over 10 consecutive minutes. You dominated time of possession throughout the game. How big of a factor was that in that game?
It's big, and the time of possession, I always like to go to the secondary stat of how many plays. I think they ran 62 plays and we ran 90-something. Yeah. So that's really where you see the difference, and you could tell they were tired. Towards the end of the football game, especially on defense, man. They have a phenomenal defense, probably not as deep as they have been, but those dudes were tired. They played a ton of snaps defensively, and so that time of possession usually leads into the number of plays run, and our guys did a really, really good job of executing and finishing 3rd and shorts and some 3rd and mediums to keep those drives alive.
You're up 31-21 going to the 4th quarter. They tie it and send it to overtime. But I'm going to go back. As frustrated as you were, I know, after the game about being outscored 10-0 in the 4th quarter, it could have been worse. They've got 1st and goal at the 3 with about 3 minutes to go. And there were a couple of, to my naked, I didn't see the film like you have. There were some great defensive stops in there. I think Cameron Hill had a stop, and I believe Bolu may have had a stop in there. You force a field goal that forced overtime. So you're disappointed, I know, in being outscored 10-0, but that was a huge stop.
Huge, and it's back-to-back weeks where it looked, our backs were against the wall, 2 weeks before where Jeremiah Chambers pushes the running back out on the screenplay. And,
at the half-yard
line. And we forced them to attempt a field goal. And it's just the same thing. And, again, I'm proud of our guys because that's a mindset, man. As coach, that's not us. That's a bunch of guys that care about each other, are playing hard, believe, and they're not going to give up, and they kept fighting. And you're absolutely right. There were some great individual plays down there on that goal line to send the game into overtime.
And another big individual play in overtime. The first play in overtime, you're on defense. It's a flea flicker into the end zone, perfectly thrown. But Jaron Parker gets his hand up, forces the incompletion. The following play forces the fumble. How big was his performance?
Yeah, it was huge. And if you go back and watch the play, I mean, when it's developing, you're like, this is a touchdown.
Almost a gimme.
Yeah, absolutely. And he made a phenomenal adjustment and ran and broke up the football and then turns around and forced the fumble next. And just been very impressed with him, his athleticism and his character since he's been here.
He didn't even play a ton of plays against Stephen F. and Houston Baptist because you had Ryan Stapp play nickel because they threw the ball so much. So for Jaron to make those plays was really big. Then you get the ball knowing that any points will win the game. So a field goal wins it. I've seen some coaches maybe opt for a field goal early in an overtime, knowing that a field goal would win it. You ran with Tracy James on 3rd and 2. I thought you got some great blocks from Cody Anthony. I think Brandon Hohenstein got a nice block. Sully Lesh, who's their All-America defensive lineman, was right in there, and Cody got his hands on him, and Brandon chipped on him, and Tracy into the end zone. Tell us what influenced the decision, besides having number 21 in your backfield, what influenced the decision not to kick the field goal but to try to go for the touchdown?
Yeah, again, it goes back to our mindset going down there, man. We were going to play to win, and anytime you're being conservative, to me that's not playing to win. And I got complete confidence in our field goal kicker, but I mean, if you can score a touchdown, you score a touchdown. And I thought we were aggressive in our play calls down there, but they were sound. And then, the last play when we broke the huddle, it was just they got lined up wrong. And that's one of the great things about that muddle huddle. They didn't have an overhang. And I mean, we were literally yelling on the headphones. It was going to be, you could just tell it was going to be a walk-in touchdown because they didn't have that overhang player sitting there. So just nice to see, man, and just it was really great to see our guys just execute our game plan and physically and the mental aspect of it as well.
It was a walk-in and a walk-off for Tracy James in a 37-31 victory. It was an amazing night. You got 33 first downs against the team that gives up the fewest. You ran for 282 yards, the most that they'd given up since 2016. It was a great performance. 37-31. Victory in overtime for ACU over Nichols. We will talk about today's game against Sam Houston State in just a little bit, but as we go to break, take a look at scores from last week in the Southland Conference. This is the Adam Dorrel Show, presented by Lawrence Hall.
Welcome back to the show. I'm McKenna Holman. ACU soccer concluded its season last week, including a 1-0 victory at home over Sam Houston State. The Wildcats were held scoreless in the first half, but a late goal by Christina Arteaga pushed ACU to its first undefeated season at home in program history. The Wildcats also dominated in shots over the Bearcats 26-10. Later on Friday, they traveled south to San Antonio to face Incarnate Word for its regular season finale. It was a hard-fought battle on both sides, but the Wildcats ultimately came out on top 3-2. ACU jumped out to an early 3-0 lead in the second half, but the Cardinals responded with 2 goals before the 77th minute. The Wildcats also won the shot in battle in this one, 21-10. And as the regular season reached its end, 8 Wildcats were selected to all conference teams following a successful year. The biggest honors went to Natalie Jones and Shay Johnson. Jones took home the Southland Conference Freshman of the Year award, while Johnson was crowned Conference Midfielder of the Year. It was the 4th consecutive year ACU received the Freshman of the Year award. Up next, soccer team hits the road to Conway as they begin their run to defending its Southland Conference Championship. They played McNeese in the first round of the conference tournament Wednesday at 2 p.m. The volleyball team's struggles continued this past week as they now are riding a 4-game losing streak. Last Tuesday, the Wildcats hosted Houston Baptist in Moody, falling in straight sets. Mary Beth Sandercox and Kennedy Shellstead led the way with 8 kills in the loss. HBU led the way in kills 46-31 as they improved to 14-12 on the season. This past Saturday, the Wildcats were able to win its first set in 4 games, but it wasn't enough as ACU fell in 5 sets to Sam Houston State. Kennedy Shellstead led the way again for ACU with 14 kills. Despite falling in the first 2 sets, the Wildcats responded by winning the 3rd set, 25-23, and the 4th, 25-17. Up next, the Wildcats will look to end its losing streak when they head to play Incarnate Word Thursday night at 6. The men's and women's basketball teams tipped off their 50th season on the court with 2 great wins Tuesday night. The women's team beat McMurray with a score of 111-43, and the men's team beat Arlington Baptist with a score of 90-39. The Wildcats had some key takeaways from both games. The women's team had the best shooting percentage in a single game in program history. Colton Cole on the men's team had a career high in points for a game with 21 points. Head coach Joe Golding said after the game that he expected Cole to take over inside the paint in Tuesday's game.
It happened all summer. It's happened in the fall. He played well in our 2 scrimmages, and he should dominate a team like that. You know, if he's going to do what we think he can do, this should be a game where he should do exactly what he did. And our guys continue to throw him the basketball. He should have got the ball more. You know, we can't get bored with throwing the basketball inside. If people are going to play behind us, we got to throw the basketball to him, and he's got to be able to finish around the rim. I thought he did a good job of that. We probably just didn't throw him the ball enough. He had 13 shots. He should have had 30 shots, you know, tonight. So again, that's what tape's good for tomorrow, and we'll get better at it.
Up next, the women's team will play the University of Southwest in Moody Coliseum on November 7th at 11 a.m. for the annual Kids Day. And the men's team will head to Philadelphia on November 10th to play Drexel University. Coming up next, it's a behind-the-scenes look at what it takes to produce the Adam Dorrel Show here at ACU TV.
ACU plays on Saturday. Once the game's over with, I'm already emailing next week's opponent, asking their director if I can get footage. And then after that, it's downloading the footage and then loading it in.
So on Mondays I come in and I put all the football highlights into Premiere Pro and I chop them all up to put them into 3 categories: touchdowns, offense, and defense. So we kind of have those highlights for our Adam Dorrel Show.
We have a weekly meeting every Monday and it's just to discuss the show.
We start talking about, okay, what do we want this show to be come Wednesday? Depending on a win or loss, there's a lot we can talk about, but we definitely want to just collaborate as 2 hosts come on the show. It's definitely an exciting environment, to say the least, but there's always something new that comes up, whether it's looking at the teleprompter. There may be a few issues, but we have to work through that. We have to sometimes ad lib in the situations, but we have to be ready for that. So that's why we get here early to try and prep and discuss, okay, here's how it's going to go this week, and here's what to be looking out for.
Owen and I are constantly working to make it relevant and make it natural, because we do shoot it live on tape, which basically means that we're going to shoot it one time. We don't do it over and over again. We don't rely on doing it over and over again.
So when we get into the studio to shoot the show on Wednesday, it's not just about what's on the talent on the screen, but it's also about people who work in the control room, people who are on cameras, making sure that they have their shots. They're communicating with the technical director and the director. People in the control room play a huge and vital part. They're behind the scenes. People notice if something goes wrong, it's on them, but they do an incredible job.
Everybody in the control room? Yes. All right, everybody ready in the studio? Yes. All right, segment one.
Segment one.
All right. In
Five, four, three,
two.
Welcome to week 9 of the Adam Dorrel Show, presented by Lawrence Hall. From the ACU TV studios on the campus of Abilene Christian University, I'm Owen Simpson alongside Emily Schaefer and the head football coach at ACU, Adam Dorrel. While Coach and I may be on camera the most, you don't see everything that goes on behind the scenes, whether it may be Hutton talking to me in my IFB or just cameras moving around, changing from camera 1 to camera 2. There's a lot of stuff going on.
You just see us on camera, but you don't see this well-oiled machine behind the camera. We have people working in the control room, and we have people operating the cameras, and there's just people everywhere doing their parts, and they work so hard to make sure it looks good. It's definitely a group effort, even though you just see the people on camera.
All right. Beginning at 2:30, and you can watch the game on ESPN+.
All right.
For Coach Dorrel and Emily, I'm Owen Simpson.
Five,
Thanks for watching the Adam Dorrel Show, presented by Lawrence Hall. Enjoy the game, and we'll see you here, right here next week.
Very good, very good, very good. Good work, good work, good work.
Good job, guys.
Good work, Owen, good work.
As we welcome you back to the Adam Dorrel Show, take a look at the Southland Conference standings. You have Central Arkansas alone in first place after a resounding road win at Lamar last week. Then there's that three-way tie for second, which includes ACU's next two opponents, Sam Houston State and Southeastern Louisiana. So much still up for grabs in the Southland. Now check out today's schedule. Central hosts Southeastern in a huge showdown. A road win by the Lions would really muddy the conference waters. Well, the other heavyweight matchup will be fought at Wildcat Stadium this afternoon, where ACU welcomes in Sam Houston State. For so many years, a Southland Conference bully. A year ago, ACU went to Huntsville, ran for more than 200 yards, won 17-10 thanks to a late interception to seal it by Jack Gibbons. This year, Sam is, like ACU, 5-4. They're 4-2 in the conference after a gut punch loss at Central Arkansas a couple of weeks ago. But the Bearcats still very much alive for a return to the playoffs after their streak of 7 straight appearances was snapped last season, in part because of ACU's victory over them. So, Coach, as you look at Sam this year, what jumps out at you?
Yeah, first defensively, obviously they're statistically the best defense in the league. You know, it's, I think, one of the good matchups on paper Saturday is we're the #1 rush offense, so they're the #1 rush defense. So something's got to give there. Statistically, they're one of the best defenses in the country. They have really great athletes on the back end, so they can play man coverage. They don't try to get cute. But to me, it all starts with their D-line. They have 8 guys they rotate on the D-line. They're different. They're unique. There's some pluggers in there, but they also have some guys that can rush the passer. So they're very diverse from that standpoint. And then, you know, the wild card Saturday is going to be, you know, their quarterback. The quarterback's been out for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
We're expecting their starter to be back and ready to go for us. And they're just entirely different with what they do based on who's playing at quarterback. When the kid who's been playing the last couple of weeks is in, they're more of a running offense, a lot of wildcat. They try to let him run the football. When their starter's in, I mean, they're in spread formations, empty, 5 wide a ton. And so that's going to be an interesting thing to immediately see who's playing quarterback. And then for us, it's just, you know, we've got to be able to run the football. I think when we can do that, it just makes us so much better.
And you mentioned their defense. Sam Houston State has only allowed 30 points or more from an opponent one time on this occasion. Was the first week of the season. Meanwhile, you've scored 31 or more points the past 3 weeks. with that kind of success on offense, how do you expect to keep rolling against Sam Houston?
Yeah, I think we've got to be who we are, and I think we've really found our stride the last 3 weeks. I think we know who we are now. I think we've gotten some stuff sorted out on the offensive line and who's playing there, and that's really solidified what we're doing. Using Samaje and Luke, I mean, there's no secret we're going to continue to do that. Tracy James, the bell cow, we got to get him involved in crucial situations. I think the big challenge for us is we've really challenged our guys. We have to win downfield matchups at receiver. That's the one thing that sticks out to me. Not a lot of teams, in my opinion, have stressed them through some route combinations, screens, pick routes, whatever you want to call it, and then mixing in that, deep ball. You've got to win. Any team that's going to consistently play man coverage to you and just challenge you with bump, press, man, at some point in time you have to make those guys pay on that.
You mentioned Eric Schmidt and Ty Brock, the quarterbacks for Sam Houston State. They do appear to be a different team when Schmidt is in there. One thing we know no matter what, Nathan Stewart is going to be there, the leading receiver in the history of the Southland Conference. Why is he so good? I mean, the numbers are phenomenal.
Yeah.
What makes him so special?
He obviously his speed, but then we've all seen fast guys that don't produce a lot. He has really good body control. He seems to have a great football IQ. Runs really good double move routes. Man, he can sell a post and go. I've challenged our guys on special teams. To me, their backs are against the wall. I'm not going to be shocked when he's the punt returner, kick returner. He hasn't done that all year, but in his career, he's been very, very dynamic at it. So I think that's one thing we've got to be ready for and try to neutralize him when they put him on special teams. And then, you've got to know where he's at on every formation and try to get some over-the-top coverage on him and try to be physical with him on the line of scrimmage.
Coach, a month ago you were 2-4 on the season. Then you go win 3 consecutive games. You win the next 2. You've got a great shot at the FCS playoffs. During this stretch of winning the past 3 games, have you emphasized the FCS playoffs as a motivation tool for your players? What are your thoughts on that as a coaching perspective?
No, we haven't talked about it at all. Every team's different, and I found that out as a head football coach. You have to play to your team, and you have to understand what motivates them, drives them in a good and bad way. For us, through trial and error this year, I know when our guys are good. Our guys are really, really good when they're focused on going 1-0 each week, when we set specific goals for that week. Our goal for this week is to try to remain undefeated at home. I don't know if there's any other Southland team that's done that. That was one of our goals going into the year, to try to play and take that next step as a football team to build on the momentum we've had. We're really good when our guys genuinely are having fun and playing with energy and passion. And if you're going to do that, then, me as a head coach, assistant, we can't stress them out by being, over the top. And so those are the things that I've learned about our team this year. And, calm is contagious with our guys, and so we're going to try to continue to do that. And the other portion of that, man, is just there's so many things in that I can't control, we can't control.
Good point.
It's just, to me, it doesn't help the end product on Saturday. So we're just going to focus on the fundamentals, the techniques, the 5 or 6, 7 keys to victory we have each week that are very specific to our opponent. And when our guys get honed in on that, they've played pretty well this year.
Beating Sam will be a big enough challenge on its
Absolutely.
own, and let the record stand where it will. Well, it should be a big game. Kickoff set for 3 o'clock. Jim Reese and I will have the pregame show on radio beginning at 2:30. You can watch the game with Owen and Zach Carlisle on ESPN+. For Coach Dorrel and Owen, I'm Grant Boone. Thanks for watching the Adam Dorrel Show, presented by Lawrence Hall. Enjoy the game. We'll see you right here next week.